Nicks and Bruises, we are back. Shout out to the chat. Yo, Black is time. We on the lunchtime edition, back to back. If you didn't catch Dope Soul Sports Talk after this, go join the replay gang and watch that show. Peace, Queen.
I just got some concerning news, so if I'm not as enthusiastic, forgive me.
We went on. We had a great show, Dope Soul Sports Talk. The back to back edition. The energy was so high. We had Jay Boogie in the building early.
Yeah.
And then as we're ending the show, we got some breaking news. It kind of put a damper on the energy. Mitchell Robinson is. Let me just read the report, just to be a little accurate. This is from Steve Popper. Says league source confirms report Mitchell Robinson will not be ready to start the season as he works back from May surgery. Team is eyeing possible December to January return, but rehab will be the determining factor. Oh man, we just talked about small ball lineup, Julius Randle, 10 to 15 minutes. We just talked about the front office and giving them all the kudos they deserve, well deserved or deservingly so, of always being in position to kind of weather these kind of storms. But I don't know if they knew. This was the timeline a month ago or 2 months ago. So yeah, I don't know how you. Let's just go with initial reaction. I'm bummed out. I ain't even go front. I'm bummed out, Queen. 2 months, first 2 months of the season, essentially, and that's given everything goes well from what it sounds like. He's still rehabbing. Hopefully, knock on wood, there's no setbacks. Right. What are your thoughts? Shout out to the chat too, man. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah, I'm a little bummed out too. I agree. The energy was riding high in the last show, just kind of talking about what the front office has done, and then somebody, shout out to the chat too. Somebody put it in the chat that the reports December, January, and I was like, yo. It's one thing to talk about Julius Randle and OG for 5, 10, 15 minutes a game. It's something totally different to Julius Randle being your starting center and OG your starting power forward. Like that's a little different. And even Thibodeau said so before this, though. I don't know if he changed his mind, but in the article, I think I want to say Steve Ash. I don't want to get his name wrong, but NBA.com article. And he said, he wouldn't want to do it for much more than that because he might get run down. So does, Jericho Sims become an Isaiah Hartenstein or New Orleans? What I forget his name. Noel. 2 seasons. When we went to the playoffs the first time, Robinson was hurt that season as well, and Noel stepped in and did a good job for us in the regular season. Same thing, Isaiah Hartenstein last season. Does that become Jericho Sims this season? Does that become Precious this season, or do the Knicks feel pressed to go out and get someone before training camp starts? New Orleans. Thank you, Just Knicks. New Orleans.
Nerlens Noel.
Nerlens, yes. Appreciate you.
I mean, yeah, that's the big question. Who's the starter, right? Who's the starter from jump? We could start there. Jericho Sims has traditionally been Mitchell Robinson's replacement. When he goes down, and I think that will be the case come the start of the season. I don't believe it's Randle, starting at the 5 from jump. I think Tibbs is gonna try to stick to that 15-minute maximum max as far as playing him at center, playing him at small ball. I don't know if there's another real viable option to start um other than Jericho Sims. I think we thought Huck Purdy was going to be a G League player for the entire season and not really see much minutes. Does that change? Does he get a look? You know what I mean? Does he move a little bit up in that rotation, or like you said, do we go out and make a move before the season starts?
Right.
I'm gonna start there. If they do that,
Mhm.
if they're gonna make a move immediately, I would prefer it be a small move. It be um not that defining move. You mentioned a question right when we ended your show. I'll let you get to that, but yeah, I think it would have been nice even to bring in the guy the Celtics stole from us. You know what I mean? They just signed him up, the guy who's playing on our summer league team.
Mhm.
Big man can stretch
Yeah,
the floor a little bit.
yeah.
Just that right there tells me this is news. That this is new news. They weren't prepared. They weren't prepared for Mitchell Robinson to not be ready for the first 2 months, because I think that would have been a viable option just to bring in and kind of see what we have in him. But what's your thoughts on just,
Yeah.
I guess, the trade now
Mhm.
or later?
If you can do a trade now, I would do a trade now. And the only reason I say that is because the Eastern Conference is a beast, and I think that seeding is going to matter. In terms of having as easier path as you can to to the NBA finals. And waiting for Mitchell to come back in January, maybe you're in the sixth seed, fifth seed, and fighting your way back, you know, fighting your way back up. Um, and I also think that the Knicks need to be looking for a center, not just because Mitch is coming back in January. I just think the Knicks need a center, period. Because I think this is a concern every season with the injuries and how many games Mitchell Robinson is going to play. Now, they may not be able to do that. They may not be able to go out before the start of the season and get a starting center, right? I'm wondering, to your point, if they can't get a starting center, does it make sense to get a center? Like who could they bring in that's going to start ahead, if it's not a starting caliber center, that's going to start ahead of Sims or Precious? You know what I mean? So this is just a depth guy. Um, I think you swing and get a starter if you can, and if you can't, I think you just go with Sims and Precious.
Well, there's some guys that's been making their rounds as far as in the mentions in Nick's universe, as guys that we should pursue. Um, and this is before the news of Mitchell Robinson,
Okay,
right? So I'm gonna throw a couple names out there. I mean, why not start with Nerlens Noel? You mentioned him.
he's
I
still
know
he hasn't retired yet.
I don't think he is officially retired, no. And I mean, familiar with Tibbs, familiar with a lot of a couple of the players still here, familiar with the role of what I mean, what is going to be asked of him.
Mhm,
Doesn't necessarily change the dynamic at that center position. He's pretty much the Mitchell Robinson clone, if you will. Um, but because of the history
mhm.
and the fact that you mentioned him just in reference, it made me just quickly think about it. I haven't heard anybody mention him in this past offseason at all, but the fact that he has some familiarity, he doesn't necessarily have to start. Um, I say this: I'd rather him at this point than Taj Gibson, who we've seen
Oh,
come
yeah,
back multiple times in the pinch. And I mean, as early as last year, he was on the team for a stint and played. You know what I mean? Like people forget about
right.
when iHeart went down, after Mitch went down, and we brought Taj back again. So I'd rather take a flyer on a Nerlens Noel than Taj Gibson per se. So that's
But
my first guy. What's your thoughts? And then we'll keep going.
nah, like I don't think he's better at this point than Sims or Precious
Okay.
at the center. So no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. And I don't know what he's been doing since then.
Another guy who I don't think has played much basketball, but
Hmm.
um, just from a skill set standpoint,
Hmm.
Boogie Cousins.
Wow, you
um,
scraping now.
I,
Is he
we
still playing?
listen. I'm starting at the bottom. I think he was
Oh,
playing. I'm starting at the bottom.
okay.
Um, these are nobody that we got to trade for. Nobody we got. You know what I mean? I mean, we could start talking about exhibit nines and tens for the guys I'm referring to as training camp invites at this point. What I'm referring to right
Right,
now.
right.
I think he's played overseas a little bit the past couple years, but I'm looking at his what he could bring as
Mhm.
far as he can stretch the floor, he could shoot the ball, he could pass the hell out of the ball. I'm looking at what we lost with Isaiah Hartenstein and kind of what he could implement and kind of keep that same um trajectory going. Again, I wouldn't want him starting or playing even 30 minutes, you know what I mean? But I think he's a guy who could give you 20 minutes, 15 minutes and be productive. Um just throwing it out there. Don't
Yeah.
kill me.
No, no. I
No,
mean,
I'm talking to the chat.
if he's the Boogie I remember, yes, I would do that. But I'm not. I have no like. Where is he now? This is like the last time he played in the NBA was what 3 years ago, maybe even four. Um, if he's the Boogie I remember, yes. If he's lost something since then, I think we should just go with what we have.
All right. Last guy I'm throwing out there. Let me find it because somebody said I know one guy. Here we go, Kevin Burke. He says I know one player for surely won't be looking at, and that's Dwight Howard. And he was the third guy. He's less removed. He's less removed from basketball. Obviously, definitely been playing overseas. Got his own league out in Taiwan, I believe. Been trying to recruit NBA players on their downtime to come play out there. Um, the main reason I didn't want Dwight Howard last year or the year before was because of the pending lawsuit that he was going through. That has seemed to be cleared up. I think he won whatever judgment. I didn't want any kind of outside of basketball distractions. Not saying that those things, talking points, won't continue to be out there, but from a basketball perspective, I think he's probably the best out of the three that I've named.
Mhm.
I mean, he just won a championship in the bubble with the Lakers, and like I said, is a little bit less removed from basketball. Obviously, still in shape, still wants to play in the league. Did a couple workouts this year, as well. Um, and yeah, he's a guy that I know could definitely give you 20 or 20 plus minutes. Um, Thoughts on Dwight Howard?
I mean, again, if he's the Dwight Howard I remember from the bubble, then yeah, yeah, I definitely think he can help. But if he's dropped off some, Because when you think about it, Mitchell Robinson was playing 25, 26 minutes, or I would think he would have played 25, 26 minutes. I don't know if Howard can give us 25, 26 minutes. So now you have him split in time. So it would be him and Sims or him and Precious, and then bring in Jude, because I still think you have to have a small ball element regardless, just to take advantage of, you know, how to take advantage of this team offensively. Um and what they can do. So it Dwight Howard and I don't know. I mean, but if the Knicks brought him in, I wouldn't be upset about it.
Yeah, and let me preference. I'm not saying any of these guys come in and start. I'm not even saying any of these guys play over Sims, Precious,
Oh, okay.
Julius. I'm saying we need insurance policies like
Oh,
that.
for
Like
insurance.
yeah,
Yeah, I
these
would.
are the this is the weakest position that we have,
Mhm.
and God forbid, a couple of things got. And we're gonna talk about Precious and Sims as well. But God forbid, neither one of these guys don't work out. That just makes that back line even thinner.
Yeah.
So again, let me preference by
So if you
saying
yeah, so if you're talking about just for depth, I would take any one of those guys for depth. Dwight Howard, so you're talking basically situational. Dwight Howard,
situational.
Boogie Cousins, yeah, that's fine. I don't even think I would bring Noel back. Nerlens
Mm.
situationally. I don't think. But I'm with Rebuild NYK. We don't need a situational center. We need a starting center on this team. But we may not be able to make that happen before the start of the season.
Um, Darren Wayne says JaVale McGee. I know his name has been out there.
I like
Um,
him situationally as well. He's
so
36.
I'm sorry.
He's 36 years old though.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Again, all these guys I'm referring to situational. Um, you know, start with internally with who we have and see what we have, and I mean that's a good transition point right now to just talk about. We mentioned Sims earlier. You think that's the consensus as far as starting center, or would you see Precious? Who would you go with as the starting center
It
moving forward, or to start the season?
Yeah, this is close for me. I like Sims' big body. Um, you know, Precious seems to get pushed around a little bit by bigger centers, but then you can argue how many of those bigger centers are we going to see? Um, but Precious is definitely more skilled on the offensive, on the offensive end. Oh man, by a hair, AJ would appreciate this. I'm gonna go with Precious, but I'm not like super excited about it.
Well, we agree because I would go personally.
Mhm.
I would go with Precious. I feel like Precious at the 5 is a mismatch night in and night out. Um, with him on the floor with OG is one of our best tandem duos. Matter of fact, I mean, is our best defensive duo. Above Mitch. Well, I don't know how much Mitch got to play with OG, but above iHeart,
Mhm.
those two as a tandem had the best defensive rating on the Knicks. So that's one reason. So, but then we're talking about him at the 5, Randall at the 4, OG at the 3. So you still have that combination to where you could put Randall, you could switch Randall on a bigger guy, so
Mhm.
he's not getting pushed around. You could switch OG on a bigger guy, and on the offensive end, if the center's trying to guard Precious, not saying he's a bucket, but he's still a mismatch. You know what I mean? He's able to draw that guy out a little bit or be a threat to he's gonna have to knock down that mid range. You know what I mean? I think he's gonna have to but he has that in his game a little bit more than Sims. So I think it's a lot closer to a 5 out with him at the 5 to start the game, and he's just more a defined player, like on any aspect of the game. You know what I mean? Defensively, offensively, like he has a lot more in his toolbox than Sims. Sims, he has a lot more limitations. Um, but with the history of Tibbs, when Mitchell Robinson is out, he's usually starting Sims in that role when healthy. Like that's kind of been his staple. He may not play a game if everybody's healthy, a minute if everybody's healthy, but
Right.
once Mitch goes down, it's usually Sims first as that starter. You know what I
Right.
mean? And then obviously when Sims went down, that's how iHeart got his opportunity to start. So I don't know if Tibbs moves away from that.
Yeah. I will say this to your point about Precious, and I'm basing this on the Precious we saw to end the season. He could have added so much more to his game as any other players on the team. I don't think offensively he is better than Sims, but I saw in the playoffs they was leaving him as well,
Mm-hmm.
and and his guy was roaming or in the key and what have you. And maybe he'll come back hitting the three where they have to pay attention to him, but he's a little better offensively, but I don't think he's gonna make the defense have to defend him.
The thing with Precious is, yeah, they may leave him open on the perimeter, but
Mhm.
he's a adequate enough ball handler that he's not gonna be forced to shoot the three. You know what I mean? Like every time, like he can move forward with the ball. You know what I mean? So he could continue to put that pressure on the defense. He can drive adequately enough to where you can't just leave him totally alone. You know what I mean? In a sense where Sims probably won't even be on the perimeter
Mm.
enough to be left alone. You know what I mean? Like so I think he still opens up the game, opens up the floor a lot more than Sims, because Sims, he's gonna be foul line and closer. You know what I mean? He's not gonna be away from the foul line and back towards the 3 point line. And so I do think I agree with you. Like they leave Precious open the same way they leave Josh Hart open. He's gonna have to make them pay in those situations, but at the same time, he's a good enough ball handler to not just be stagnant in that spot where they left him open, especially if you're not gonna shoot it. And he might miss, but he'll shoot that shot. You know what I
Okay,
mean? So
you
so
are.
sometimes even not making it is not the problem. You know, a la Ben Simmons. Sometimes you just got to shoot it, even if you are a low percentage shooter, and then it's up to the rest of that team to go at offensive rebound. And luckily, that was a staple for this roster. Bad part was iHeart and Mitch Robinson's were the leading contributors in that department as far as offensive rebounding.
Right, right. Dwight Howard is dancing with the stars, so at least he's a little nimble still.
And he's on record, you know what I mean, a couple weeks ago, as soon as a couple weeks ago, as still being on record as wanting to be on the roster, wanting to be in the NBA. Like I can't say the same for Nerlens Noel, so he's the
Right,
bottom of the barrel for sure.
right,
And
right.
and Boogie, he's still, mentality wise, he still feel blackballed and things of that nature. Like he might not even want to play. I'm not sure. He's just been on record on saying he was done wrong. Not necessarily. I still want to play. But yeah, the White. I think he could be helpful as a veteran, helpful break in case of emergency, and in that slim chance that he has any remnants of 2020 championship season,
Mhm.
um, that's useful. And again, JaVale as well. But yeah, we talking about Sims and Precious. I agree. I would prefer Precious. we were going about preference. What do you think Tibbs does? Do you
I
think
think
he
go with
does
Sims.
that? You think he goes with Sims?
Yeah, for whatever reason. Even if Sims is just the Alfred Payton where he just comes in and plays like
6
6 minutes
minutes.
in each half because it keeps the rotation, it keeps the rotation in line. So
Shoot,
I
there was times where he played 6 minutes and that was it. You know what I mean? He just started the game and whatever he got taken out, he didn't even come back in the game. I'm talking about Alfred Payton. That was towards the tail end of that. You know what I mean? The playoff series, if anything, that was before he was ousted completely. But
right.
yeah, I agree. I think he goes with Sims, but my preference would be Precious. I think Precious gives us the best opportunity. But that's also what training camp is for. So
Yeah.
I don't I'll say this. I don't think Tibbs is as stubborn or stuck in his ways as the narrative on him is. So I think training camp will be the determining factor on who starts at that position. Um
And let's not count out Mook because Mook
yes.
also he's only I think 6'8". He's small as well. Broad though. And he's played small ball center in his career. So he'll get an opportunity in training camp as well, I would think.
And this might have even boosted
Chances,
his
right?
chances of making making the team. I mean, I already was on record. I thought he had the best shot because of the positional need and the positional versatility. But yeah, this might have gave him a couple more percentage points of making a roster for sure, and being utilized considering like you said he could play some small ball five as well.
And he's played in the NBA last season in the playoffs for Cleveland when I want to say Donovan Mitchell was hurt or
Hmm.
somebody was hurt for them.
Yep,
He actually got some significant minutes in the playoffs last season. So out of all of the guys we've mentioned, he we have tape on him as as early as last playoffs.
absolutely, absolutely, yeah. Um, Man, this kind of threw me off. I switched the whole show
Yeah, yeah.
show around with the
But
news.
can we go with Jarrell's point, and that's the idea that should the front office be looking for a long-term solution at center instead of just a solution to get us to December or January when Mitchell Robinson should be back?
Think I got it. Shout out to Jarrell. Um,
Salute.
I do think we should. Well, let me put you on the spot and go ahead and ask the question that you asked me. You know what I mean, off camera
Yeah,
about
the front office, right?
yes, because I think
It,
I'm gonna reference that in answering.
yeah, the question I had was, does this put pressure on the front office to get a starting caliber center sooner than later? Like people were talking about, well, we definitely need to get one because Mitchell Robinson is injury prone, but we could probably get by until the trading deadline. Um, but with this news that he's not coming back to December, January, does that put pressure on them to do it sooner? And I'm sure they've talked to teams about a starting caliber center, and maybe the Knicks kind of pulled back and was like, "Yo, that's a bit too much. We're not willing to do that." Would they be more willing now to do that given the urgency of the situation?
Situation. And now, does that give other front offices the advantage to even up the ante in their asking price? You know what I mean? Put pressure on the Knicks to kind
Because
of.
they're desperate.
So I mean, these are all to me. I think they all tie into each other. So to answer Jarrell's question as far as a long term starting five, I think long term the answer is yes, but immediately I don't think they should. I don't think they should give in to the pressure. I don't think they should show that they're under the pressure. So what I say that to say, I think the best move is to continue to see to see what we have with who we have currently. Um,
The only thing I'll say to that is if we get off to a poor start, then now it's even, like, I get what you're saying. Teams are going to ask for more now because they know that the Knicks are, in a urgent situation. But if we get off to a bad start, we're going to be in an even more urgent situation.
that is true. That is true. But even in that, I don't think what we're able to do doesn't change, right? So what we're able to do right now isn't going to change by December, or it changes December 15th or whenever the date is for, excuse me, Precious to actually be able to be included in the deal. So I think that's part of the reason why you don't rush now, because all of your options as far as who you can include, what you can do, are not open. You know what I mean? So they're restricted. Like, right, if they do something right now, whatever they do right now, it can't include Precious.
Right.
So
Right.
so I think ultimately that's part of the reason why they wait. They should wait.
Hmm.
Um, not saying Precious is the highest of commodities, but
He
I think
helps.
he helps.
He
You,
does.
you know what I mean? So that's why I feel like a break in case of emergency, a back of the rotation guy, one of these guys I mentioned, somebody else who's out there, whatever the case. I think that's the more viable plan right now, and kind of live with it. I mean, Tibbs' motto: "We have enough to win," right? So it's not nothing he hasn't faced before. Um, can things go wrong? Absolutely. I don't think the likelihood of it is that high. If it does, guess what? A couple of things are proven. iHeart was worth that contract that he got. It wasn't an overpay, and we and we couldn't have afforded him. You know what I mean? But I think we have enough. I do. I really do. To withhold, to not give in to the pressure. But to answer the question directly, as far as look for, yes, absolutely. Mitch is my guy. Everybody knows I've been on. I've been championing him even with these injuries. But I mean, this is getting crazy now. Like this is repetitive. I mean, I'm okay moving on from Mitch. Like the to be honest, like even including him in the deal, if it solidifies a starting caliber center who doesn't have the injury history. It- So I think it does, but I think they've been already looking for a long term starting caliber center. I mean, the rumors of the guys that have been out there, Walker Kessler, that would have been a guy on a rookie contract that we could keep for years and years to come. I don't think that was just baseless speculation. So
Right.
I think they've already been kind of looking in that direction. But keep they've never really moved under desperation. They never really moved under pressure. Um
Right.
or at least showed it. I
Right.
think they need to continue that same kind of strategy. Don't give in under the pressure right now.
But what I'm saying is, it's not desperation, it's facts. It's a fact that we need a starting center on this team. This is a team with championship aspirations. We're a championship contending team. If you're a championship contending team, you need to have NBA experience at every position. You need to have players that can play at that position. Sims is a question mark, in my opinion. Precious, I don't think he's a center, But in a pinch, can he do the job? Yeah, in a pinch, he can do the job for 2.5 months, maybe 3 months, because Mitch also got to work his way, back into shape. I don't think is I don't think going out if a player gets hurt and looking for his replacement, I don't see that as desperate. I just see that that's what front offices are supposed to do.
Um, but you gotta think any deal that's that was on the table a month ago. You, let me rephrase it. What do you,
You
given
might
the
have to
current
pay a little
situation?
extra. It's okay. The Knicks are close enough that you might have to pay a little extra. They paid a little extra for Mikal Bridges.
But is there a target out there that you feel like the Knicks should pursue? That's what I'm saying. Like, is there
I
something out there now
that I would love for the Knicks to
go ahead?
to to have on this team, and if they have to put in an extra draft pick, I'm good with it because we're that close. You know, I like I like Kessler. I like Nick Richards. Um, I like Doran. I'm not saying these guys are available, but these are guys who I think if you put in that starting, because remember, our center is going to have a prescribed
Hmm.
role. Even if they have more talent, they're going to have to prove to Tibbs that, they can, so that he can let them use it. They're going to have a prescribed role. But those three guys have the size and the physicality to play at that position. They're not going to be overmatched, right? So those are the three guys off the top that I've heard the Knicks connected to that I would be okay if the Knicks have to give up an extra
So
draft pick to get.
if it's Kessler, and this is all hypothetical, I'm just trying to throw it out there and get your opinion, because the Kessler move I think automatically costs Deuce, right?
Mhm.
So
I think any one of them is going to cause deuce,
okay, fair enough.
right?
Um,
If
I
if
mean,
if you're not giving up maybe Kolick even, um, I just feel like the Knicks, other than your rotation, your top seven,
mhm.
I think it's like an expansion draft.
So I,
Protect my top seven,
I,
and I
I'm gonna throw it out there. Let me ask if you do it. I'm Danny Ainge, or not Danny Ainge. Yeah, it's Danny Ainge.
it is.
I'm Danny Ainge. Um, I want Deuce. I want Kolick. I want both protected picks, and I'm greedy. I'm just asking for one more second.
I'm doing it.
Okay, fair enough. I don't argue with you.
To us at this
Hmm.
at this point, you got Shamit, you got
Yeah.
Cam, you
Yep.
got Campaign.
Hmm. It
What do
def.
we got 5,000 second round picks.
I agree with you 100%.
But I like Deuce and I really like Kolick.
I like them both too.
Times calls for desperate
That's for
man.
message. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm with you. Honestly, out of all the potential moves out there, even though I like Kolick and I never seen him, like he hasn't played an NBA game, and I like him that much, and I like Deuce. I'm with you 100%. Just to start this off season, you know what I mean. Start this preseason. This is what it is. You know what I mean? Less question marks. And now we just wait, you know what I mean? Hope, knock on wood, waiting for Mitch to get back, and we just moving forward. That's the move I actually like the most. I think because I feel like Kessler has the large the biggest long term um future, you know what I mean, with us.
Yeah.
You mentioned Aiton on the tail end of your show. um,
If we don't have to
give up Randall.
if we don't have to give up, but then the question is, A and Randall fit though. If we don't give up Randall And if you do have to give up Randall, is Bridges ready to be a number two? I mean, maybe, maybe not. Um, I'm good with Aiton. I think he only has 2 years left,
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah, I'm good with Aiton. He has upside too that maybe Tibbs can
Tap
tap
into.
into, and Tibbs is really good at defining players' roles. I think that really helps a player as well.
Yeah, I'm with you. If it's not including Randall, I'm he might be number two on my list because of, again, long term stability. I know he's only under contract for 2 more years, but I think he can be re-signed at a lesser amount than he signed for, unless somehow he has the Isaiah Hartenstein effect and just pops, which is possible. I think he hasn't peaked as a player either, so it
Right.
could go either way. But given the circumstance of what he would be brought into another winning situation, I'm assuming he's learned from his previous winning situation and had somewhat of a attitude adjustment or a revelation of you know the way to conduct yourself as a professional and things of that nature.
Right.
Um, Being reunited with Brunson, so
You while Tony is coming back on, I would say, oh, go ahead. You back?
no go. Am I back? I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
you back. You back.
Where that cut off at?
You got to say it over. You was at the
Oh,
beginning.
um, well, basically, I was agreeing with you. I'm all for Aiton if it does not include Randall. I
Right.
haven't done a deep dive as far as what it would cost. And I've
The
talked
trades
about.
I saw did include Randall. The ones I saw included Randall.
Okay,
I haven't
okay.
seen any um that
Well,
would
I would assume us
salary.
getting there without Randall would cost us Mitchell Robinson and would definitely cost us someone from that Villanova crew. Because I believe those are the guys who make the most money on this team.
Going back to the front office, though, the front office may be more willing. The front office themselves may be more willing to include Randall than one of those Villanova guys, which kind of goes back to my question. When it comes to upgrading this team, will they do what's best for the team, or will they try to keep that Villanova quartet together? Though they may argue that it's both. We're keeping them together and it's best for the team, right? Randall is not somebody they didn't draft Randall. Randall and Mitchell Robinson, they had no hand in bringing in. They inherited those guys. I don't know if that makes a difference, but I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, that's tough. I ain't gonna front. That would take some adjusting for me. I am definitely a Randall supporter. Um, I feel like one of the biggest fans. He's I hold him and Brunson at equal playing fields as far as what they mean to my fandom as a Knick fan. Now granted, Brunson got there a lot quicker than Randall did.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And I know a lot of people hold Brunson a lot higher in that, but I do not. I'm not one of them people, not as of yet. And I don't think the Knicks can make a honest decision as far as they're improving the team before seeing how they look altogether. You know what I mean? And that would just be my perspective. Now they could believe whatever, you know what I mean. They could believe it. They could feel like they've seen enough. Um, but I don't think that would be a accurate decision. Um, are you would you not do that trade if it included Randall, or would you be okay?
I think it's
Um,
risky. not having seen this team, not having seen if OG or Mikal Bridges um, can step into Randall's role, because we saw Brunson last season as the main guy, and that was too much. It's hard to win a championship like that. You got to have at least two guys who can create for themselves and create for others. I shouldn't even say that, because Mikal Bridges can create for himself and he can create for others, but you got to have the gravity to do it, where you drawing that attention.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if Mikal Bridges is there yet, but it could be that he is, and I just haven't seen enough of him. So I think it would be a risk for them to make the trade without being absolutely sure um, of it. Um, yeah, yeah. So
Man.
I would prefer to keep Randall and go with another center than to trade Randall and go with an Eaton. And I know guys may not be that high on him. They don't talk about him enough, but I wouldn't sleep on Nick Richards out of Charlotte. 7 foot, 7'4" wingspan. When Mark Williams went down, their rookie, I think he was a rookie. That might have been a second year last year. I'm not sure. He stepped in and he was great for them. He reminds me of Mitchell Robinson. Now I don't know about the advanced stats, pick and roll defense, things like that, but being a rim runner, rebounding the ball, blocking shots, things like that, he's really good, and he's agile. Like he can move. And he has a little offense. He has a little art, not a lot, but he got a little offense to his game. So I like Nick Richards, and I don't think it may not it may not cost as much as Kessler.
Um, he's wait. He doesn't make less than Kessler though.
He makes five. I think he makes 5 million.
Oh, okay. Because I didn't see it. I didn't see a trade with him that didn't include Precious. I thought we had to wait. So who's the center that's been out there that's makes like 13 million?
I'm not sure.
I could have sworn there was a center on the list. I thought he made more than that. If
If I'm not mistaken, somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I think he's 2 years, 10 million, and
okay.
Deuce makes 4.7.
Yeah, we still gotta be decent. We gotta give out. We gotta send out more. But yeah, that's just another minimum contract on top of Deuce, and we could do that. But we can't. We can't take back more than.
Right.
So yeah, if we can make that move now, he's let me preference, because you mentioned Doran. Doran would be number one for me over Kessler. Let me start there. Um, so I'd go Doran, Kessler, Richards.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if Richards was 5 million, then I might put Richards over Kessler.
Yeah.
Um,
I just think Kessler. Well, again, how much rim protection do you need when you have Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby? But this guy's ability to block shots. Um, Richards, 3 years, 15 million. Yes, about 5 million a season.
okay. So yeah, we have the opportunity. We could potentially do it now. I agree with you. Because of the need. Yeah, I would make this move. I would try to push these moves, one of these moves, before training camp starts. You know what I mean? And hit the ground running, make the adjustments when Mitchell Robinson returns, if need be. If you know what I mean, if there needs to be an adjustment. I was unaware of that. I'm still curious, because there's definitely been talks of adding Precious to Deuce once Precious is available
I don't know
for
who that would
somebody around.
around there. Maybe somebody in the chat knows.
But yeah, that I thought it was Nick Richards. If it's not, man, I think we do need to make a move sooner rather than later. I really do. To your point, is we're talking about our top 7 guys being protected. You know what I mean? The starting 5. And you could argue I don't know where you put Mitchell. Mitchell Roberts unavailable, so that's really
Oh,
our
that's
top
true.
six guys.
That's
You,
top six. Yeah.
you know what I mean? So it's top six guys protected. Go out there and make a move. Obviously, the move would fill in for Mitchell Robinson, and then we still have, like you said, we have adequate. This maybe this was some of the reasoning behind these exhibit nines, exhibit tens, um, because these guys, not you know what I mean. If we're doing a 2-for-1 trade or even a 3-for-1 trade, you know what I mean. If we talking about Kolek, Deuce, and you know what I mean, and someone else or whatever, these guys will have the roster spots for both those guys.
Right.
And campaign being here, you know what I mean. We did it didn't really make sense bringing Cam in, signing Kolek. You know what I mean. Deuce is here. We was all questioning like, all right, what is going on? Maybe this is all positioning and posturing because they knew.
Or maybe they wanted to cover their bases, just bring somebody in case they had to trade dudes. And listen, they've been asking around, so they know what teams are asking for, and so maybe they wanted to just have some guards on the back end in case they did have to trade dudes for a center.
So I guess my only question would be preference as far as those guys we talked about in the very beginning as the insurance policy and rocking out with what we have, or moving immediately as far as making one of these moves and potentially, what I mean, losing some of the our depth pieces that we have already in
Hmm.
Deuce. We don't know what we have in Kolek, but Kolek, you know what I mean. What would be your preference in that?
My
Um,
preference would be to bring a starter in if we could.
bring a starter in.
That would be my preference, because it's not like we're waiting for a center who doesn't really have an injury history. We know once he gets back, he's going to be good. That would be different. I think I'm thinking about this year, and I'm thinking about the next few years.
Um, and we didn't really talk about Duran. I know that Duran was your guy from the draft.
Yeah.
I'll let you I'll let you talk about Duran and what do you think it would cost? I think he probably would be the he would cost the most, right? He might cost when we talk about dues,
I think Kuzma would
Coley.
want the most because Ainge would ask for the most. you know. Um, but yeah, I think if we was just going on talent,
Wait, where's Duran at?
Dorn is in Detroit.
You said Ainge would ask for them. Oh, you
I think
said Kessler would.
it would cost more
Okay,
only
okay,
because
because of Ainge.
would
Okay,
would ask for more. But if you're going strictly on talent, I think most people would rate Duran over Kessler, though I really do like Kessler. Um, yeah, I think listen, he's young in the league. I think this would be his third season coming up, if not fourth, maybe third or
hmm
fourth season coming up. So he's young. He's young in the league. He still has room to grow, but I think he's been in the league enough to do what we need him to do, right? Rebound the ball, play good defense, block shots. His offense is okay, but we don't really, we don't really need that much.
tad bit better than Mitch.
Yeah, but we don't need a lot from him offensively. I do hope he can move the ball along though, and in the offense that really, that really helps. And statistically, he's a double double. He's a double double. I don't know what his. I don't know if he'll be able to help us because guys get their points different ways. Um, I don't know, like if he would be able. We like guys who can offensive rebound, give you second chance points because we don't really shoot the ball great. Hopefully that changes um, this season. That part I would have to look up. Just his offensive rebounding 14.7, defensive rebounding position 20. Yeah, I mean,
To me, he fits either way because I think a lot of that is Tibbs' philosophy. So I think the focus is on is on them offensive rebounds. So I think
right.
coming here, um, even if his offensive rebounds weren't high, he
But they
averaged
will be.
enough. He averaged enough rebounds to tell me that he can he can transition. Like I don't know what
Right,
the science difference is as far as like or he's a good defensive rebound and not a good offensive
right,
rebounder. To me, if you could rebound, you could rebound, and then it
right.
goes down to the philosophy of your coach and where he puts you and where he wants you to determine like the focus points.
Yeah,
In my opinion,
yeah. He's a better defensive rebounder than offensive rebounder. But to your point, you know, it's something he can learn if that's what we do and if that's what we're asking from our centers.
um, would he be your number one option? I haven't heard many
No, he was mentioned.
discussions about him.
Yeah, he was mentioned early on. I think they have him. They have I think it's Isaiah Stewart. I think that's his name. Um,
Detroit, right? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, as a beef stew. Yep.
they got rid of Wiseman, so they don't have Wiseman anymore. So they may be apt to hold on to him if those are the only two centers that they have. But in a perfect world, I think it would be Dorian Kessler, Nick Richards.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Jarrell said he was a 79% free throw shooter too. Keep that in
I ain't gonna front. I see. You know how shout out to DJ Shuttle. You know how Shuttle called Isaiah Hartenstein Jokic light.
mind. Mm-hmm.
I see Duran as Bam light
Mm,
and young enough to kind of have time to really develop his game in that manner. Now, granted, when I talk about Bam, I'm not talking about this year's Bam because I do think this year's Bam is going to be a lot different. But uh, um, yeah. Oh man, what do you think we do ultimately? Do you
I
think
think we
we
need to move before. I think we having a breaking news podcast before the season before the season start. I just think they're not gonna. If he was coming back in like sometime in November or
remember?
something, but for this, mm-mm.
And the fact that the matter of the timeline. I mean, they do always say this, but relatively historically under this regime, guys haven't really come back early and yeah, like if the timeline is 4 to 6,
Hmm.
it's usually a little after 6 that they
Right,
that
right,
they you know what I
right.
mean and that's historically like um and it's always been like things are looking good along the way, things are progressing, they're ahead of schedule, but even with all that it's always right after the initial timeline. And the fact that they saying however it was worded, but if all things
Right,
go well,
right,
this is the timeline. So they not even factoring in a mishaps when they say this. They saying this is this is if everything goes well. So yeah, that's a long stint. I guess my last question is how much do you think the organization is willing to move, not just move, but move on from Mitchell Robinson?
um, that's a good question. I think they are. Only and I don't think it's because they don't like Mitchell Robinson or they don't believe in his skill. I just think that they're very calculating in terms of thinking about the future and just thinking about we're trying to win a championship. This guy's played 70 games, maybe, maybe once. Um, we're not sure I don't think they think he's the center of the future. I don't think they think that. Um, and so, yeah, I think that they're thinking, if we can, this is an opportunity to move on.
Yeah, the only thing I think he might have in his favor as far as riding it out is the fact that it is a descending contract. So that might help. Um, Actually, it could go both ways because they may be able to. They may look at it as like, let's get the value for him now. At the money wise, you know what I mean. Let's utilize his cap number now and maximize the return
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to later. But also, I don't think he's in position if they were trying to keep him long term. Like obviously, the next contract is not going to be as good as the last contract.
Right.
Consider, pardon me.
Right.
Considering games played and games available.
Right. And then I don't even know what Mitchell like trying to get a center. I don't know if using Mitchell Robinson, the injured player, that the reason why you need a center is going to net you a starting center, right? I mean, he's injury prone. I don't think he's going to net you one. Teams are
Yeah,
probably like, I'm not giving away why am I giving away my center for your center who's injured? And that's why you need my center in the first place.
not
Unless
not this year. Not
right,
this year, at least. I mean, maybe as a expiring,
right,
um, or if we're talking about Time Lord, that might be a swap. You know what I mean? Both teams
right,
is is willing to endure, and I think they have more flexibility in moving him. You know what I mean? And knowing Mitch Robinson's out until this long. That's even though we don't know what the timeline is on Time Lord either. I think he's ready to go now, but it's still like a wait and see, watch and see with that man. So this was supposed to be a Julius Randle small ball lineup show. I'm gonna end it quick. I just want to ask you, did you see Randall launch the YouTube channel?
yes. I saw
Um,
the first video. Does he have more? I saw one of the
no,
videos.
it's just one video. It's
I
just one
saw it.
video so far. What was your thoughts? What was your takes? Um,
It was
Definitely got me amped. You know what I mean? I definitely was pumped up.
yeah. He looks good physically. Physically he looks good, but that's always the case with him. Anyway, looked like he slimmed down even more if that was possible. Um, and the video was just well done, 4K video, cinematic. Yeah, good for him. Good for him. But yeah, seeing his body and seeing him working, I was like, oh yeah, I can't wait for the season to start. He's he's gonna impress the doubters. He's not gonna impress me because I already know what it is.
I agree with you 100%. We've talked about it many a times as far as his bounce back game, and he's one of the best at that. You know what I mean? Coming back and returning. Um, I do want to touch on a couple of things real quick. Let me see. Check my notes. It's really about his bounce back game because last year, started off historically one of the worst slowing starts. I don't think my phone's gonna turn on in time, but he ended the season or the January stretch. Um, it was 28. No, pardon me, 25, 24.9, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. At that point of the season, he was shooting 36.9% from three on 6 attempts.
Mm.
You know,
Yes, yes.
and I mean to end, you know what I mean, to make that transition from how bad of a start he had. Obviously, he was still kind of working his way back from the foot surgery. I do think it won't take him that long to kind of bounce back this season
Mm-mm.
for a simple fact when you're talking about the foot and you talk about a non-shooting arm, two different things. You know what I mean? Foot, you talking about timing, you talk about footwork, you talking about a lot of things that could affect your overall ability. And with this, we're talking about his his right hand, which he doesn't use much
Mhm.
other than to bang. But yeah, I seen the video. I was excited. I'm definitely excited to watch the series of it. And like you said, he's not gonna surprise me on the court. I think he will surprise some doubters on the court. I don't know how you could still be a doubter at this point. Um, like I said, with him, his pressure doesn't really start until the postseason. For me, I think most people should take that kind of perspective because who he is in the regular season is proven. But what I will say is similar to Brunson and the roommates podcast. I think this channel might change some of the narrative on him, change some of the perspective of him as a person. You know what I mean? I think that's always good to kind of let fans into whatever you're willing to let them into of your personal life because it gives us more of a perspective of you, an understanding of you, and I think this might help his image. Truth be told, I think the real ones already respect him for who he is and his work ethic. But sometimes you gotta deep dive and you gotta look to find that stuff. Him putting it out there
Right.
is gonna help. I think help change his image at least a little bit. You know what I mean? It's not gonna change everybody's perspective of him,
Right.
but I love this.
Yeah, me too. I will say this, Tony, about the playoffs. We're less dependent on, don't get me wrong, we need him, but we're less dependent on him in the playoffs. So if he struggles in the playoffs, maybe Mikal Bridges can have a bigger role in that game. Maybe OG Ananobi has a bigger role in that game. Whereas when it was just OG and excuse me, Brunson and Randall, when Randall had a back, it was all on Brunson. I don't think
Mhm.
that's going to be the case. And I think it was, I don't know, 3 seasons ago, he's not a number 1, he's not a number 1, he's like a number 2 or a number 3. Okay, well, now he's in
Mhm.
his rightful role as a number 2 or number 3. The Knicks are gonna be fine in the playoffs with excuse me, Julius Randle because of the talent that's around them. We don't need
Absolutely.
him to play at a, elite, level. We're gonna be fine.
It's gonna be a lot easier for him to find out to know what he needs to do. Like you know what I mean? To your point, he had to do, especially the first year, he had to do everything.
Right,
Points, rebounds, assists. He was the team. You know what I mean? But as years gone on, he's gotten better players around him. He's gotten a guy to alleviate all the leadership pressure from him. So that's completely gone with Brunson's emergence. And yeah, continue to just add pieces. DiVincenzo, I think, helped him. Or, you know what I mean? His addition. Obviously, that January stretching with OG showed how much pressure that alleviated from him. And now we're talking about another guy in Macau who might be arguably the best out of all the other than Brunson, the best out of all the additions. A lot more defined offensively than OG or even
Devo.
Dante.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And then adequate enough defensively to mesh with OG. So it's like he's the big piece
Mhm.
added to Randall. Like we had a defensive specialist and a shooting specialist added, and now we got a somewhat of a combination of the two of them
Right.
in Macau. So yeah, and again, we haven't seen it yet. You know what I mean? Everybody's worried about the fit, worried about this. Let's worry once we see something to worry about. Because when we seen OG's edition and what it brought, and we seen Devo's edition, we seen what Randall became. And to me, he was in his best stretch and in the middle of his best season before he went down. My anticipation is things got a lot more easier for him, and we might continue to see his best stretch and the
Right.
best version of him that we've ever seen, including in the playoffs.
Yeah, and we can only look back on January when you know we had iHeart that definitely helped. Um, but he played well. He played well with that team. You know, he wasn't holding the ball. The ball was moving. It, it looked the same. So with him in there as far as ball movement is concerned.
Dwayne Dennis, he said, I believe Tom Thibodeau needs to get out of his comfort zone, start coaching Sims and Achiuwa and Dadier and Haporte to play the five. Give him what he wants from them and what the team needs. My only thing is, like Queen keeps saying, that three of those guys are unproven, or two of those guys are unproven. Sims kind of didn't raise his level yet. Precious is the one guy that I could say, when given the opportunity, one, he has the most experience in the league, in these situations, and when given the opportunity for this team, he's the one guy that exceeded expectation. So I agree with you with Precious, but
Right.
Sims is still a question mark. I still can't get that image of him, bringing the ball up, and I'm all excited, and then him stopping with just a little bit of pressure, and getting that 6 second turnover. Like,
Hmm.
dude, you had two more steps. You know what I mean? And I don't think he played after that. I like, to my knowledge, he didn't get back in the game, in the series after that, and
Wow.
that was a crucial mistake. So that just said a lot about his readiness,
Right.
and whether he was ready or not. Um, just my last thing before we get out of here. So just a couple of stats. OG Anunoby, catch and shoot, 42%, 3.9 attempts per game. Mikal Bridges last year, catch and shoot, 38.5% on 5 attempts per game. That's eight threes right there. Randall was peaking at 6 threes. Um, Brunson, he gonna put up 6. DiVincenzo, he gonna put up 6.
Hmm.
Um, have we become the Boston Celtics?
Oh, it's
have we become the Golden State Warriors? Like,
in terms of, I mean, they're two different teams, right? Golden
I,
State
I,
was more small ball, three
I'm
point.
I'm 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 referring to living and dying by the three,
Mm,
because I do think that was the Celtics last year. Like, their
mm,
3-point attempts as a team was crazy, and they didn't care. You know what I mean? Like, if they lost the game because of it, they didn't lose many. But if they
right,
lost the game
right,
because of it,
right.
it was what it was.
Um, you might be, yeah. I mean, you might be right in that respect. You might be right.
And my last stat, during that January stretch, our offensive rating was 119.
Yep.
Our defensive rating was 104, and we had a plus differential net rating 15.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Second best in the league, if not first in every category.
Yep.
It was only one category we wasn't first, and then we were second in
Right.
in that one category. I
Right.
mean, that just a remnants of that.
I mean, we're without Hartenstein, but we're adding in Bridges. So yeah, yeah. I'm excited to see it.
Queen. That's all I got for today. I'm a little upset we had to change. You know what I mean, change the storyline more because of the storyline,
Right.
and,
It was
and,
a
and
really deep dive into, well, it's still relevant in terms of small, but might be even more
more
relevant now,
relevant. Yeah,
what
yeah, yep. that 15 might have jumped to might have jumped to 20. That 15 minutes might have jumped to 20. Um, and I don't think it's from the jump, but let's say by the end of the season, that might be what it ends up being if we don't clean up this center position.
Yeah,
But
we
we got to
will.
do something.
We will.
Shout out to the chat. Appreciate you guys for joining. Shout out to the replay gang, as the queen likes to call you. Call
Definitely.
you. You here? You back Thursday?
Yep. Thursday, 9 o'clock. We're gonna continue the roster comparisons. The Knicks and the Boston Celtics. So we'll talk about that. Yeah, looking forward. We'll do a deep dive into how the Knicks match up with Boston.
I caught about 40 minutes of it,
Hmm.
so I'm gonna actually finish that up now. Anybody who didn't catch Queens Court, pardon me, Dope Soul Sports Talk earlier, go check out the lunchtime live at noon, and look out for her show on Thursday. I'll be back next Monday, and your black is time, Queen. Appreciate you as always.
You as well.
Peace.